Hello and welcome to our episode. We are Angel Chestnut Studio, and we are happy to have you here in our episode where we are going to get into an acronym that I use in life, but I really use it to plan and execute my military space aid travel. I am Angel Chestnut. I am a photographer, cinematographer, certified professional life coach, and PR professional based in Northern Virginia. And without further ado, let's get into it. Quick disclaimer, any links that you see in our episode description may contain affiliate links where I will receive a small compensation should you make any purchases utilizing our links. If you click any links that's on my website, angelchestnut.com, and I'm looking for it right now, on angel.com and on our shop at angelchestnut.com/shop. That goes right to our business. So, in today's episode, this is something that I have had many phone calls, DMs, text messages about, and that is questions about the entire process of military space aid. And since the majority of my friends are retired Marines like myself, I'm really talking to them. The first resource I'm going to point you to is going to be, and I should have a link to this. I am so sorry, I did not create a link. I'm going to read the darn website out. So it is the Air Mobility Command website. So what the heck is this acronym B.A.M.C.I.S, and why is it applicable to what we're trying to do today? B.A.M.C.I.S is what we call our troop leading steps. It involves begin the planning, arrange the recon, make the recon, complete the plan, issue the order, and supervise. I'm going to adapt that for this space aid journey. Now, I have a script here, so let me see, make sure I didn't forget anything. Okay. We all know the term heavy up and wait. If you are utilizing military space aid, you need a ton of this. Military space aid is a service provided for active duty DoD employees, military retirees, who want to take a hop aboard a military mission that has extra seats. What happens is they fill these aircraft up with the personnel or equipment that they're moving and their families and pets. And then if there are extra seats, they open it up. And now, in order to be eligible for these seats, you need to confirm your eligibility. And the Air Mobility Command website is your first stop. You have a lot of other resources out there. You have a military group, you have a Facebook group, Military Space Aid Travel Group, great resource. And within that group, it's grown to I think 150,000 at this point. Some of the military space aid terminal managers are actually in there. And one in particular is out on the West Coast. She is awesome. I've met her multiple times in person. You can tell she loves her job. She is about the staff's about it, and wealth of information. Another source is a blog called Pop and Smoke. They have all kinds of free PDFs and things like that. Our job here is not to replace any of those resources, but I really want to specifically talk to those who are in Category 6 with the military ID card that says retired. Within Category 6, you have a bunch of other categories. Please utilize that website and check your eligibility. I'm talking specifically to DD Form 2 holders, military retirees, and that is military retirees who were reservists who now are in full retirement status. Like my brother, he is a Army reservist who did 22 years. He had to wait until he turned 60, and now he has his retiree ID card and he draws a military salary. Now, that out of the way, let's get into that B for B.A.M.C.I.S. Begin the planning. And like I said, you need to check your eligibility. There's no need to make this elaborate plan if you're not eligible. Case in point, within Category 6, there are other categories of folks who they can use military space aid, but they cannot fly overseas. They can fly to U.S. territories in Guam, Puerto Rico, Alaska, but they cannot fly to Europe and Japan and Korea. And what happens is they present themselves at these space aid terminals and they have to be turned away. It's not negotiable. This is a federal law. They are complying with federal regulations. So begin the planning by making sure that you're eligible and checking your eligibility. The next step in your planning, check your vital documents. check your passports. Case in point, you may fly out military space aid to your destination. You may return back on a commercial airline, and some commercial airlines, regardless of what the country policy is, may require you to have 3 to 6 months eligibility on your passport beyond your departure date. The country you're flying to may be good with whatever your expiration is on your passport, but that airline is not. It's to keep you from getting stranded in another country and you have expired documents and you may or may not have access to a consulate or a MC. So check those for yourself and your eligible family members. That out the way, now begin your planning. Where are you trying to go? Go on that AMC page and find out the destinations they fly to. And they have each terminal and it'll tell you, where they're located. Within that, you're going to see, once you get to the individual pages, because of OPSEC, you're not going to see details past 72 hours typically. Some AMC passenger terminals who use this thing called the Patriot Express, they will have up to a 30-day schedule because that's a commercial jet that flies contractually at specific intervals. And within the last year, these flights have been cut. So you have to check it frequently, and I highly recommend you call, and if you live near one, go visit. Nothing beats a face-to-face because some information you just cannot release over the telephone because they have not vetted you. When you go to these terminals, they are checking your documents. They are checking to ensure that you have eligibility, and if you've signed up, they can go in there and check to make sure that you signed up. Now, as a military retiree, you have up to 60 days. I highly recommend that you sign up using the Take a Hop app, which will allow you to sign up to any other place you think you may fly into or out of. It's going to save you time and frustration. The third thing is to pack some patience. Pack lightly, but bring a lot of patience and be flexible. We all know that hurry up and wait is something that is not going to go away, especially when you're dealing with the military. Now, the next thing is arrange for the recon. I kind of touched on it. Determine where you want to fly out of, make contact. Call them, email them, show up. Again, OPSEC, there are some things they just cannot release over the phone, but when you're there, you find out a little bit more scoop, and you may have other travelers there that put you on game. Can I tell you how invaluable that resource has been? Lastly, ground transportation. So when you get there, they have what's called an AMC gram. It is not an official endorsement, but that AMC gram will have lodging, ground transportation, taxis, whether Ubers can come on base or not, other people who may have access to the base who provide rides. Those are invaluable resources. Sometimes they're available through email, sometimes they're on the website in the PDF, and sometimes you have to physically go there and pick it up. Case in point, you may have some restricted access with a base like Andrews. But if you go over there, they not only have their AMC grams, they have a ton of other AMC grams. You just have to check the date that information was on there. And again, this is a courtesy. It's not an official document, but it gives you an idea of the key things you're going to need once you actually get to where you're departing from and arriving to. M. I am skipping ahead. I did not. So arrange recon. That word reconnaissance, I just can't say it. So we're going to say recon for in the interest of time. Make the recon. We've already visited. We've called. And also, too, when you are projecting to be somewhere, don't get locked into lodging. Because as military space aid travelers, as retirees, we are only eligible for space aid staying at lodging on base. Here's game. When you are actually arriving and you know that you're about to take off from the terminal, when you're about to board, make contact with your lodging where you're heading to and make your reservation. And if you don't do it right before you depart, do it when you land and plan for having to go off base. They may not have space for you on base because they have to reserve those spaces for the active duty and their families or something in support of a mission that you may or may not know about. other travelers have been an invaluable resource because they may have access to Airbnb's information, another lodging number. I've had situations where the lodging number was busy, couldn't get nobody on the phone. Talked to another traveler, they had another number, it worked better. I got no room. C, complete the plan. Okay, so now we're executing. We have done our research. We have watched the different AMC terminal pages and gotten a rhythm for who is doing what as far as where they're flying out to and the frequency, and gotten information like when COVID was still going on, where you had to get tested at, where you can get your results and make sure you present them and things like that. You don't have to worry about that anymore. The bottom line is you have to craft a robust plan with multiple contingencies. A, B, C, D, E, and E. Here's the point. My next to the last trip I took last year, I took 7 round trip, six round trip international trips last year. I flew out of BWI. I headed to Ramstein with the intent of getting on a Landstuhl medevac bus, which will take you to Italy. Beautiful trip, takes you through the Alps, but you have to call a certain number and request a Space A seat on that medevac. I landed in Ramstein, the medevac number is posted. I kept calling, couldn't get nobody on the phone. So the day of, I was supposed to get on the medevac shuttle. I go over to the terminal. They were not familiar with it, despite it being on the arrival side. When I went on the departure side, no impact, no idea. So there was a flight leaving back to BWI. I had been there 2 days. I signed myself up for that flight. A woman of convenience. I figured it wasn't meant to be that time. Who knows with weather? Maybe it was canceled. Who knows? I'm in line waiting to board, and I see a guy who he's like a taxi at one of the bases. He watches the flights and he provides rides at a very reasonable price to the train station or the airport at Dover. He and his wife had came back from that very medevac I was talking about. And so I know it exists. He said the number I had was right. So for some reason, I just couldn't get anybody on the phone, and I couldn't get anybody at the terminal to confirm it. So I knew I wanted to go out the following week from BWI to the next to the last flight to Milton Hall. I missed that flight. That flight into Europe was my favorite. It took you into the UK, 90 miles from London, and that works better for me versus Ramstein. It no longer exists anymore because not enough people were using it. And that is one of the reasons I'm really getting the word out. If we don't use these programs, the funding will be cut, and these flights are starting to really decrease. So it is what it is. So utilize other travelers to help expand your knowledge base, and it really does help. Last but not least, you should order. Now, when you are executing, again, make sure you have a ton of patience. Make sure you pack as light as possible. Sometimes flights pop up on aircraft where the total weight is 40 pounds. So if you have a carry-on and a light personal item, you may get to go to Hawaii where you were just trying to get to California. Something to consider. Second, make sure you also as gracious as possible, because when you're dealing with the terminal personnel, they're dealing with a lot of people, a lot of personalities, and sometimes a bit of kindness and understanding goes a long way. And you get extra information. For instance, we had a circuitous trip from Japan that stopped us in Kadena, Okinawa, then to Hickam, Hawaii, on to its final destination, Traverse, and that plane broke every stop. And we had to spend a night. Lodging, rental cars, it took expenses way up. So I waited for the herd to rent their cars, and I went over to the passenger terminal desk. And I said, hey, is it really true that we're probably going to be here a few days? The gentleman behind the counter said, no, they're flying out in the morning. come back tonight and I can confirm with you that we're actually flying out. So I did. I came back at 8 o'clock like he told me. He says, come back here, turn your car in. It's leaving tomorrow because they're trying to get back to Travis. I said, cool. And I thought everybody in my little group had knew. So when we show up, one of the guys who was the one keeping us informed, he got there kind of flustered because he didn't get the word. So I assumed that he knew. So look out for passengers as well, especially when they're giving you information as well. So just talking to the gentleman behind the counter, I was able to get up super early, pack, get back over to the terminal and be there and not be stressed out with fear of missing roll call. And we did. We got out 2 hours later after roll call, and that was it. We were on our way. So to recap, you know that military space A requires a bunch of patience. It requires a bunch of flexibility, and this is not the thing to pursue if you are crunched for time. That's why I'm addressing military retirees, because typically if somebody's going to have free time, it's going to be us. You can really have a cost savings if you're going to a place like Japan, round trip. Japan is like $21 each way, so $45 both ways. And if you're over there, I went from Japan to Korea twice for free because it was the same aircraft, the commercial aircraft out, and it originates in Seattle. It's a lot of patience though, and if you travel during peak time, you may not get picked. And so it's a roll of the dice. I was the person who went against the grain. I traveled during spring break, got the last seat. I traveled during peak summer. The first time was okay. That second time was a humdinger because I didn't stick to my plan, but I got out. I turned right around and went to Europe. Summertime, had to stand in line for 5 hours just to mark myself present, but we got out. Holiday season, spent Thanksgiving at Dover trying to get to Ramstein. I got out. Got over to the UK, no problem. I really hate that flight is not in existence anymore, but they do still fly military. Bottom line is, this is a benefit. Not many of us use it. It can be convoluted. Don't put all of your hopes on the military space A return flight. Have a specific dedicated travel card to cover you, and you should be all set in case you do have to get a commercial flight back. If you found this information useful, please go ahead and like and drop us a comment below. For more information about military space A, I have a whole series that I taped. I'm going to redo it because I didn't like the background. It's going to be useful for you. Hopefully I took the veil of the whole process by utilizing, begin the planning, arrange the recon, make the recon, complete the plan, issue the order, and supervise in little chunks so it makes sense to you. You can do it. You've probably done it as a young troop, and it is a benefit that will not be around if not enough of us use it because they don't have to. But I am I'm just so thankful that I have the opportunity to share this with you. Thank you for tuning into our video. If you appreciate this content and would like to support the channel, you can do so by cutting and pasting the Buy Me a Coffee link, and it will take you to a donation page, which will start as low as $5 and take you up as high as you want, one time or as many times as you feel like it. We also have memberships. I'm building our community of crafty creators and grown-ass women who have something to say. These are coming in the fourth quarter, and I look forward to building our community. And with that, I would like to sign off and thank you for watching. Let me go ahead and play our outro.